Hello, everyone. I hope y'all had a nice Christmas, and welcome back to another episode of Entertainment with Buford and Francis. Today, cosplaying as Francis from the Fairly Odd Parents, and I'll be telling the story of Tarzan. Enjoy the video. In the late 1800s, off the coast of Africa, a young British couple and their infant son escape a burning ship in a storm on a small rowboat and land on the unexplored rainforests of Africa, where they craft themselves a large tree house in which to live using salvaged ship parts in order to survive. Meanwhile, a gorilla couple named Kerchak and Kala are traveling with the rest of their group when their infant son is killed and eaten by a leopard named Saber. The following day, the still heartbroken Kala hears a distant child's cry and, following it, stumbles upon the treehouse. She enters the treehouse where she finds it trashed and blood-covered paw prints on the floor from the corpses of the couple. Kala finds the orphaned human infant and discovers a still hungry Saber is hiding in the treehouse. She manages to rescue the human infant from Saber and brings him to the rest of her group, but Kerchak despises the infant for his appearance. After learning the couple was killed by Saber and there are no other humans, Kerchak lets Kala keep him, but he doesn't declare him as his son. Kala raises the boy as her own, naming him Tarzan. A few years later, Tarzan has grown into a young boy and befriends Kala and Kerchak's niece, a feisty young gorilla named Turk. One day, Turk and two of her friends go to a pond where the elephants are, and Tarzan manages to catch up with her. Turk tells Tarzan he can hang out with them if he gets a hair from an elephant, being sarcastic, hoping it would get rid of him, but Tarzan takes her seriously, so he tries to get a hair, but he starts to cause a commotion with all the elephants, including a young elephant named Tantor, thinking Tarzan is a piranha. Eventually, he gets the hair, but causes all the elephants, except Tantor, to stampede right towards the gorillas, forcing Kerchak to save a baby gorilla from being trampled. In the aftermath of the stampede, Turk is relieved that Tarzan is still alive and amazed that he got the hair, and they soon befriend Tantor. Kerchak arrives and confronts Tarzan over the stampede when he owns up for it. He harshly declares that Tarzan will never be one of the gorillas, which emotionally hurts Tarzan, that he runs off into the other part of the jungle. Kala finds an upset Tarzan covering himself with mud, wanting to fit in with the other gorillas. She reassures him that he is not that different from the other gorillas. Tarzan later goes on an adventure with Tantor and Turk. Despite his inability to compete with the rest of the gorillas, but with help from Turk, Tarzan preserves and eventually grows into a strong, capable, and gorilla-like grown man. When Saber attacks the group and overpowers Kerchak, Tarzan leaps into battle, and despite receiving a scratch on his chest that is almost into his heart, Tarzan manages to kill the leopard, thus earning Kerchak's reluctant respect and approval. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out in the different part of the jungle. Although Saber is killed, a deadlier danger has only just begun. Kerchak orders the group to move out, but Tarzan follows the gunshots out of curiosity. Tarzan discovers a group of humans arriving, Professor Porter and his daughter Jane, who have traveled to Africa in search of gorillas and study them, along with their hunter escort Clayton. Jane accidentally gets separated from her father and Clayton, and then has an encounter with a horde of olive baboons, who chase after her. Jane runs towards a cliff and tries to jump to the other side, only to be caught mid-leap by Tarzan. He then rescues her from the baboons as the chase rages on, but finally Tarzan gets Jane to safety. Curious about Jane, Tarzan proceeds to examine her, and unintentionally tickling her at one point when examining her foot. He notices a rip on the finger of her glove, and after taking off the glove, Tarzan compares himself to her by placing his hand against hers and listens to her heartbeat, where he realizes that he and Jane are similar, but the same species After hearing Clayton's gunshots, Tarzan takes Jane back to her camp. Meanwhile, Tarzan's friends, who are looking for him, arrive at the human trio's campsite and proceed to destroy it, playing music on various human objects they find in camp. When Jane returns to the camp and sees the gorillas, Kerchak shows up along with Cal and the others, having heard the commotion, and escorts Tarzan and the rest of the gorillas away from the campsite before Professor Porter and Clayton arrive, who also heard the commotion, and Jane tells them after her encounter with Tarzan. In the jungle, Kerchak orders the group to stay away from the campsite, but Tarzan protests, believing that the humans pose no threat. Despite being ordered to protect the family and stay away from the humans, Tarzan secretly returns to the campsite, and Jane introduces himself to her father and Clayton, who take interest in him. The three humans teach Tarzan about the human world, as well as how to speak English properly. Meanwhile, Tarzan and Jane begin to fall in love. Unfortunately, Tarzan refuses to take them to the gorilla's location, fearing Kerchak's fury. A few days later, when the ship to England arrives, the trio, unable to find the gorillas, prepare to leave, and Tarzan is heartbroken to see Jane depart. Clayton tells him that Jane will stay once they find the gorillas. Tarzan, eager to stay with Jane, agrees and schemes with his friends, Turk and Tantor, to lure Kerchak away from the nesting site by respectively disguising them as Jane and Professor Porter, while Tarzan leads the humans to the nesting site. The humans are amazed to see the gorillas and excited to mingle with them, but Kerchak unexpectedly returns, and upon seeing the humans, he begins to attack them. Tarzan dives in to restrain Kerchak from attacking them, putting him in a headlock long enough for the humans to escape. After releasing him, Tarzan alienates himself in shame from the gorillas after Kerchak coldly scolds him for betraying his family. Feeling sympathetic, Khaled takes Tarzan to his biological parents' treehouse, showing him his true paths, and says that she wants to be happy whatever he decides. Tarzan makes his decision to depart for England with the others by wearing his father's clothes and bids farewell to Cal. While Tarzan, Jane, and Archimedes board the ship the next day to return to England, Jane and her father are captured by thugs, who have also ambushed the captain and his officers as soon as he steps on the boat's deck. Tarzan sees what's going on and tries to evade ambush from the thugs, but because he's wearing shoes, he couldn't climb up the funnel, causing him to lose his grip and crash into a pile of crates, allowing two of the thugs to capture a weakened Tarzan and slam him against the ship's superstructure. Just then, Clayton appears on deck, firing his rifle in the air, demanding to know what was going on. Tarzan, still trying to break free, begs for Clayton's help, and soon discovers Clayton is behind the ambush when he teases him, pretending he didn't know him and calling him Ape Man, and gets slammed in the chest by the end of Clayton's rifle. Clayton reveals his true intentions to Tarzan, that he wanted to find the gorillas so he can capture them in cages and sell them each for a high price. He then thanks Tarzan for helping him, admitting that he couldn't have done it if it wasn't for Tarzan, revealing the gorilla's location before having him imprisoned in the cargo holder with the other captives. Tarzan, feeling betrayed and realizing what he had done, screams out loud in anger. Tantor and Turk hear Tarzan scream in the distance, with the former finally growing a spine, and rush to rescue him as Clayton and his crew travel into the jungle on a small boat. They climb on board the ship and free Tarzan and the others, allowing them to race off back into the jungle to rescue the gorillas. That night, as Clayton and his minions capture the gorilla and managing to hold down Kerchak, Tarzan rallies the aid of the other animals and leads them into stopping Clayton and his men by scaring them off, but Clayton goes into hiding. Tarzan frees Kerchak and they work together to rescue the gorillas. Jane rescues Kala from two of Clayton's men, where one of them is chased off by the same horde of baboons that attacked Jane earlier, and she frees Kala from her cage. Just as Tarzan reunites with Kala, Clayton shoots Tarzan in the right arm, badly grazing it, and mortally wounds Kerchak by shooting him in the chest when he charges to protect Tarzan. Clayton chases Tarzan up into the treetops, and they duel where Tarzan dismays Clayton, holding him at gunpoint. Although Tarzan mimics the sound of a gunshot and spares Clayton's life, he destroys his rifle. This causes an enraged Clayton to pursue Tarzan with his machete, trying desperately to stab and kill him into a tangle of jungle vines, which Tarzan uses to ensnare Clayton to prevent him from attacking any further. However, Clayton begins to wildly slash the vines, but Tarzan notices one vine is looped around Clayton's neck and tries to warn him, but the enraged hunter doesn't listen and does not cut it, causing him to fall and accidentally hang himself. Tarzan then heads over to a dying Kerchak who apologizes to Tarzan for his behavior and accepts him as his son, but makes him, as the incontestably most capable of the younger generation, the new leader of the gorillas. Kerchak succumbs to his gunshot wounds and dies, and Tarzan and the gorillas mourn the loss of him. Tarzan, fulfilling his promise to Kerchak, leads the gorilla group to the new nesting grounds. The next day, with Clayton's men captured and the captain and his crew released, Jane and Professor Porter prepare to depart for England, bidding Tarzan farewell as he stays with the gorillas. As the rowboat leaves for the shore, Professor Porter encourages his daughter to stay with the man she loves. Jane agrees and jumps overboard and returns to the shore where she reunites with Tarzan. Professor Porter follows after shortly, making his own decision, and Calla welcomes Jane into the group. Tarzan, Jane, and her father embark on their new life together as they reside in the jungle among the wildlife.